Time to rave about my library because I feel like libraries are underrated on Booktube. I feel like we're always buying books. I'm guilty of this, although most of them are from library sales, but I like to remind everyone that libraries are great, and I like to share my library TBR. So basically, I have access to 2 libraries. The first one is the Bibliothèque et Archives Nationales du Québec. Pretty sure it's free for anyone that lives in Quebec. Like to remind people, you're always asking me, where do you get English books? There you go. And there's another one that is from a bigger city. I pay a yearly fee and I have access to books out of Libby, the app. If you hear some growling, it's Pear. She is in full goblin mode. She can hear the kittens in the other room wanting to come out and she hates them. Whoa, that was a loud one. Anyway, so by having access to 2 libraries, I can put 30 books on my waiting list on Libby and even more on my wish list. So I like to tell you which books you can look forward to me reading, reviewing, and you can add them to your own TBR if you're interested. And it gives you an idea of what's coming up in the upcoming weeks, sometimes months. But it's okay, 30 books, it doesn't really become a problem to have to wait so long. So the first one that I'm seeing, and I might put that one on my December TBR, I know I mentioned it as a possibility, is Never Whistle at Night, which is an indigenous dark fiction anthology. Did you hear that? She is wild. I feel like I've never heard really of any of the stories from indigenous people, and I love that cover, I'm gonna be honest. That caught my eye the first time I saw it. I was like, why don't we have more books with really cool covers? So I really was intrigued, and when my library had it as an audiobook, I was like, there you go. I feel like horror works, even though for me it's not fall anymore. It feels like it's definitely winter, there's snow. I feel like it gets dark so early that I want to know. Plus, I had never heard of the whole like don't whistle at night. I feel like you hear stories and you're like, okay, now knowing that, it creeps me out, but I would have never thought about it. So I'm really intrigued. So that one should be one of the earliest one I get to. I also have The Changeling, which is also kind of horror. This is by Victor Laval. I read The Ballad of Black Tom by him years ago and really enjoyed it. It's a really short like novella, but urban horror fantasy. I really enjoy that. And I tried Lone Women by him, and I really liked the first part, didn't really care so much for the second part, but I wanted to try more. And this one was made, I don't remember if it's a movie or TV show, but I really wanted to watch the adaptation, but then I noticed that it was a book by him and was like, this is it, I really need to pick it up. So I will hopefully get to that one, and hopefully I will enjoy it more. There are other ones that I've had for a while on there. I have already mentioned it, I think, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. This one is about the Sri Lankan Civil War. I don't think 1990 counts as historical fiction, does it? What's the limit? Is it like 50 years or something? Because that's only like 30 something years. So not quite there. But I don't read a lot of these kind of contemporary. I tend to be mostly fantasy, sci-fi, maybe nonfiction, and like mystery thriller horror. So I do like to like read a little bit of everything though. So that one, also the cover caught my, I'm gonna be honest. So wanted to try that one. Oh, another mystery thriller horror. I didn't get to as many of those as I wanted to during the fall. So I have a few leftovers, like The Quiet Tenant. This one, I'll admit, I saw it on a few lists and I have been very unlucky about the recommendations I get from these kind of lists, but I don't care. I'm stubborn, clearly. So this one is a psychological thriller about a serial killer narrated by those closest to him. Okay, I wanted to try this one because I tried Notes on Execution and I was disappointed. And it was sold to me a little bit like that too. It was about like through the eyes of the women around him, but half the book is about him and I really didn't care for his chapters. So I'm hoping that this one will be better. So is it a bad idea? Probably. Am I still gonna do it? Yeah. So I'll let you know how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me in the... Ooh, okay, this one is also one I really wanted to read in December, but it's too long, so I'm going to push it back to next year, but I'm so excited for this one. A few of you have been mentioning this one to me for a while now. This is The Other Bennet Sister. I love Jane Austen, but unfortunately for me, I have finished reading all of her full-length novel. I have a few, like, uncompleted work to get to, like 2. So I'm almost done. So I still want some of those vibes in my life. And this one is about Mary, the forgotten sister. I feel like we don't get much of her. And I feel like my opinion of her has changed a lot as I was growing up. I grew up watching the TV show The BBC adaptation. And I felt really bad for her as a kid. Then as a teenager, I found her really annoying and obnoxious and like, you know, ruining everything. And then again, as an adult, I feel like I have a lot more compassion for her. I feel, is it me or the dad kind of neglected every single one of his daughters, except the two oldest one-ish. Like you like them more. Like Mary feels neglected. That's why she's so like needy. And I feel like, again, as an adult, I have a lot more compassion for her. I feel like their cousin should have married her. They would have been a much better match. Although she probably wasn't his dream girl, but it doesn't matter. I have a lot of compassion for her. I want to read that one. The audiobook is 18 hours long. That's why I don't want to get to it in December, but I'm looking forward to that one, and I'm hoping that it's going to be worth the hype that you guys left in my comments. So there's that. I think I have mentioned this one because you guys recommended this one when I did my video where I was reading your saddest book recommendation until I cried, and it worked. It was a sad book about a cat, so you gave me more recommendation about cats. Which I don't know about that. But this is If Cats Disappeared from the World, which I'm assuming it's supposed to be sad. I think it's another Japanese translation, which I said I was giving up on, and I have like 2 on this list. So like clearly, again, stubborn. With that said, someone mentioned in the comment section the other day that I should do a video about books about cats because clearly I'm a crazy cat lady at this point. And I was laughing because sometimes some of you leave comments and I'm like, do you have access to my notes? Because this is freaky. I'm planning on doing a vlog. I'm probably going to even title it Crazy Cat Lady. So I'll probably read this book whenever I get to that point. Did I mention the next one? Elena Knows. I have been trying to read more translation. Again, I was trying to avoid the ones from Japan, but I'm still doing it. This one, I don't remember where it's from. I think it's translated from, I want to say Spanish. Either way, the premise was really intriguing. It's also a shorter book and a book that follows the main character as an older female character. So I feel like it just ticks a lot of my boxes that I wanted to try. And this one, you're following an older woman. Her daughter was found and it was ruled as an accident, and the mother knows that it's not true. So she goes on a mission to figure out what happened, but she's older and sick, and I'm intrigued. I feel like that could be really good. The reviews are really positive from what I've seen, but I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so I'm excited to give it a shot. The other one that is a Japanese translation? Wow, the French is coming out. What are you looking for? What you are looking for is in the library. There's a cat on the cover. Is there a cat in the book? Because if so, I can include it in the cat vlog. I believe I had seen it recommended as something that is cozy. And again, as soon as there's a library, a bookshop, I'm sold. That's all I want. I feel like it always works for me. So there's that one. I also have Defect, which I had mentioned that I added it to my waiting list. This one is the follow-up to Finna, which is such a strange little book of people that are working essentially at IKEA, and they're having to like go save someone that gets sucked into like a different version of her world. It's a lot, but in a really good way. It was a really short book, and this one I think it's only 200 pages, but it's much longer. And I've heard it's even better than the first book, so I wanted to try that one. Also, next one. This is why I love libraries, okay? I feel like people should rave about them more, because if you want a book, you can request it. And I wasn't sure that we were going to get that one because it is so much less known, but they had the first book, so like, why not? I had read or listened to In the Company of Witches. I don't know if it's self-published, but it's definitely, again, I think there's like 1,000 ratings on Goodreads. And it's a really cozy, small town witches kind of book. It's a murder mystery-ish, so it definitely talks about more serious topics like grief, but at the same time I find it really cozy because you're following her solving the murder mystery, but she works at this bed and breakfast with her 2 aunts. They're witches, small town vibes, you know, works for me. And they find a dead body in the bed and breakfast, and unfortunately one of the aunt is a little grumpy, and she may have said that she wished her dead. So they have to prove that she didn't do it. So I don't know what the second book is going to be about, but when I saw there was a second one, I decided to request it, and my library got it. So don't be fooled. I know the covers are, I mean, some of you like them. I think but like, they're so bad that they're good. So yeah, I am looking forward to reading book 2. Didn't think I would say that, but it worked. So I've been really enjoying cozy fantasy, so I'm hoping that book 2 will be also pleasant to go through. I have some nonfiction. I need to do what I've done the last 2 years, and it's like the first week of January, I sat down and I add a bunch of nonfiction to my TBR, my library TBR, because I've been trying to read more of them. year it went super well. I read like 30, and this year I haven't counted yet, but I know it didn't go as well, probably like 12 or something like that. It's still good, obviously, but I need to like sit down and find some fun ones. But this one is on my TBR for now, and it is The Authority Gap: Why Women Are Taking Less Seriously Than Men and What We Can Do About It. I don't know where I saw that recommendation. I've seen it somewhere if I added it there, but I don't remember. So it happens. I mean, 30 books. Sometimes you'll forget why you picked up a book. So there's that. There's another nonfiction. This one is called Femina: A New History of the Middle Ages Through the Women Written Out of It. I've been really intrigued about that topic. I'm in the middle of a book that is kind of like that, Who Cooked the Last Supper? And I think it's really interesting that obviously everything's influenced the patriarchy. Like, it obviously influenced everything. Like, I feel like we're learning more and more how like research things that we think were for sure true, they weren't. So I feel like I'm sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but you know how it is. Personal views of the researchers, which very often were, you know, cis straight white men, whatever. It influenced the way they wrote about history, for example, or everything else. So I'm curious to see what the author has to say, but I saw it on I haven't seen it anywhere, but I saw it on Library, and I was like, sure, why not? Okay, we're going back to translation. I added I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, which is a Korean translation. I've only read one, and I really enjoyed at least the topic, so I wanted to try something else. This one is only 4 hours long. I believe this is a memoir-ish, a therapy memoir. I don't know exactly what that means, but I believe this is about depression, or at least the main character / author is depressed. So we've all been there. And again, we're going into winter, so I'm probably going to feel that soon. Next. The movie's coming out soon, and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes has been on my shelf for way too long, so I decided to get the audiobook so I can start it at least that way. I have the physical copy, although not right now. I let my sister read it. She just finished it, actually, and her review was that it read like it was written by a 16-year-old. I think those were her exact word. So not a raving review, but she is intrigued enough to really want to watch the movie. So it is what it is. So yeah, I'm hoping to listen to the audiobook or start it that way so I can convince myself to read it so I can also watch the movie. The next one, this is proof that I listen to your recommendations too, because I'm always giving you some, so it's always fun to get some back. Obviously not everything is going to work for everyone, right? But this one sounded right up my alley, and it is called Cackle. Real talk, that word doesn't sound like a real word. Like, I know my first language is French, but sometimes there are words that I'm like, that can't be true. It just sounds wrong. And it's one of those words that, like, if you say it multiple times, it loses all meaning. Like, cackle? Really? Okay. I believe this is supposed to be funny, and I believe it's following a witch. So she's dumped by her longtime boyfriend, and she goes to teach in a small village. Okay, now I remember why I added it to my TBR. Yes, of course. That sounds like something a little bit lighter, and again, I've been on and off in a reading slump, I feel like, most of the year. So we want to start 2024 with a bunch of these kind of books that are like easy to go through, nothing too serious, and hopefully I will end up enjoying. But that sounds like it could be really fun, so hopefully works out. The next one is on the other end of the spectrum. I feel like I'm scared of that book, but I think I'm gonna love it because everyone raves about it, and it is Demon Copperhead. And if you've seen, I think it's my last book haul, I did buy it. I did, but it's chunky. It doesn't help. My edition is like the large print edition because I bought it secondhand, so that's what they had, so not gonna complain. And everyone has been telling me that I'm gonna adore this, but yeah, I'm intimidated. So when I saw the audiobook at the library and I have, 30 spots, I added it. It's 21 hours long, and they're currently saying like 9 weeks, so no stress yet. I'm not picking up anytime soon. But this one has been winning a lot of prizes, including the 2023 Pulitzer Prize and also the Women's Prize for Fiction. So it is beloved, and I believe you're following a teenage boy living in the mountain of southern Appalachia? I swear I can pronounce it. And he's with a single mother, and it's about, the survival and everything. So I trust you. I will get to that one, but maybe during the summer. I feel like this screams summer read. Maybe? Ooh, the next one. Okay, again, libraries are great because they keep up, okay? Whenever people want to read something, they start just hoarding them so we can finally get to them. And with the genocide happening in Palestine, I was trying to find books to read on the topic, and they only had basically ebooks, and I have a couple on my list, but I'm really terrible at getting to reading them. So when I saw that they added another book that I had seen on recommendation list, I switched it to that one. So it is an audiobook, and it is the 100 Years War on Palestine. A History of Settler Colonialism and Resistance. So I will get to that one. This is the audiobook, so that way I'm not going to forget. And they've been adding more copies, so it might not take me the 14 weeks that they're saying, but it's on my list. It will happen. The next one is kind of nonfiction too. It is. It's 3 hours long, so I feel like it feels very unserious, but sometimes this is what you need. This is How to Keep House While Drowning. I'm going to be honest, I'm not drowning anymore, but I have been dealing with a lot of health issues in the last couple of years, and it goes up and down. If you've had chronic health issues, it is what it is. But I feel like my house looks fine now, although right now with the Christmas stuff, it feels a bit crowded. But I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore, although I do have my basement. It's not that bad, but you know how it's very easy, I feel like, well, no, it doesn't feel easy, but like it goes really fast when you're starting to clean a room. But I feel like it's the last little things that it gets overwhelming and you're like, what do I do with all that stuff? And it doesn't help that I'm trying to make that space, or at least a third of my basement, fully for the kittens because I want them to have more room, and they've been wanting to go in the basement, but they can't because Mama is in the basement and they hate each other. Or she hates them. I mean, they're fine with her. They don't really care at all when they see her. But I want to have space for them, but I need to clean more because I don't trust them to not. I feel like Charlie would eat a nail just to annoy me. So this is supposed to be very motivating and help you, again, to just keep things clean. I feel like this is my kind of self-help. Like that's where I'm going to go. They're saying a gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. So fingers crossed that it helps me. Oh, the next one has been on my TBR forever, and I'm annoyed. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures. I'm annoyed because Libby for a while, I don't know if they're still doing it because I've been keeping on top of it because I don't want it to happen again, but usually when you would have a book available, if you forgot or didn't have time to go and click that you didn't want it right now, it would just go back on the waiting list. But for a while, they just removed them instead when you didn't click, so I lost a bunch of the books. It's really annoying because I had them forever. So this one, currently, I have 25 weeks left when it was available. Anyway, going on a rant there, but 25 weeks. I'm looking forward to that one. I feel like people were really loving it, although lately I've been getting some comments, people being, no, I hated it. I feel like it's the wave, right? People love and then people hate. It's okay. We'll figure out how I feel about it in 2024. Those were all the ones on my waiting list, and I went and grabbed my laptop because I want to see what I have on my wish list, because you can add a ridiculous amount of books on there, and I want to see if there's anything else that I feel like you guys would be interested in adding to your own TBR. Oh, okay. There are two that I'm seeing really quickly. First off is Assistant to the Villain, which is not my usual cup of tea. I think this was part of the romantasy category on Goodreads. I don't really read those, but if I do want to try something that is really hyped, I feel like library book is where it's at. So I might pick it up. We'll see. We'll see. I'm also seeing Sted Villain by John Scalzi. I've been wanting to try more books by him. I've only read, what is it called? The one with, they're not dinosaurs, but you know what I mean. And this one is a cat on the cover. Should this be part of the Crazy Cat Lady vlog? I don't know. Is there an actual cat in here? But a few of you actually mentioned that it was really good when I had mentioned seeing it. So I don't know anything about it. I just put it there on my library waiting list, wish list, so I could remember. Ooh, also, there's Moon of the Turning Leaves, which is the second book in that series. The first book was a post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic book, and I've been going crazy on and off for the last couple of years with that genre, and I feel like my second wave now, I've been going in a direction that is more interesting to me. I've been finding some that work better for me, and this one is from an indigenous perspective, which I haven't read any. I feel like who's going to survive the apocalypse, right? And the first book was enjoyable, although I found it a bit too short. I feel like it was 200 pages, so a bit too short. I believe this one is longer, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it yet, so I'll let you know, but one day I will add it to the official waiting list. Another one that is going to be on that list, unless I find a copy somewhere, because I'm hoping to. This is Ring Shout. This is going to be part of my Nebula/Hugo Award. I don't know if it was nominated for both or just one or a winner. I don't remember yet. I have that video coming up at one point. But I read another book by him, Master of Jinn, really ended up enjoying it. So when I saw that one on one of the list, don't ask me which one, I really wanted to try it. So I know this one is also a short book, but it's on there. Oh, I do have Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. I haven't tried anything by her yet, but a lot of you told me that this was narrated by Meryl Streep, and I wanted to try it because of the cover. Listen, if you're going to do something like that, if it's an audiobook from the library, it's the way to go. I think that's it for my first library. Let's check the second one. Oh, this is the one I had added but removed on the genocide of Palestine. This is Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis. But yeah, it's an ebook and I've been really terrible at getting to ebooks. That's why I decided to switch it for the audiobook. Hopefully I will get to that one eventually. I also added a bunch of the Sarah Addison Allen's books on here because my library has them and I really enjoyed Garden Spells by her. I have The Peach Keeper, The Girl Who Chased the Moon, and yeah, I think that's it. So they have the ebook and audiobooks. So we'll see whatever I'm in the mood for, but they're there. I don't even need to add them to my waiting list apparently. They're available, so eventually. Oh, that one sounded fun if I want like a silly, fun nonfiction, although again, it's an ebook. This is How to Survive History, How to Outrun a Type... Oh, I hate English. Tyrannosaur. There you go. You know what I mean. Escape Pompeii, get off the Titanic, and survive the rest of history deadliest catastrophes. I like these kind of nonfiction. I've been trying to keep up with the silly kind of ones. I also added another nonfiction, The Song of the Cell. I read 2 books by the author and I've overall enjoyed them, so I'm curious to try more. This is the most recent one. There's also Witch King by Martha Wells. I've enjoyed the first book in her Murderbot series and I haven't heard anyone mention this one. This is like an adult full-length fantasy novel. I probably should look up the reviews before I add it to my actual waiting list, but my library has the audiobook, so I might try it, although I'm not a huge fan of listening to big fantasy books as audiobooks because I get overwhelmed and just, there's too much going on. Which brings me to another one that I may or may not get to, because again, it's an audiobook, and it is Assassins of Reality. The first book, Vita Nostra, was some of the weirdest content I've ever read. It's like a dark academia, magical school. It's weird. So I do want to continue eventually, but I've heard it's even weirder and I don't know if I can take it. I feel like that's most of what's interesting and new on my waiting list and wish list. How do we feel about it? Any books on here that you feel like I should prioritize or anything that maybe I should skip? Let me know if there's anything on your own library waiting list that you think a lot of us might want to check out. That's it. Thumbs up, subscribe. I'll put more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in a coming video very soon. Bye.